Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about hackle, specifically Cree hackle. Cree has taken over the fly tying world. It's just like the most sought after thing there is. And what you've been seeing in the last 5 years or so is that it ends up black marketing. And people buy a Cree and then resell it on eBay or whatnot. And we kind of came in with the new stuff, the heritage hackle, and we just decided that there's just too much unknown about Cree. It's like I see it all over the place. I see originally when you looked at Cree way back when it first showed up with Mets, it was really much more dun Cree, which we'll go through that in a second. But I want to go over 2 or 3 things before we get into the actual how we're going to set this standard for grading. So in here I've got a red label. This red label is the hallmark of whiting farms, right? This is the red label. They sort these, right? So whiting sorts these and they designate whether it's a Cree or a dark bar ginger, whatever it is. We don't change that. And we let that be what it is. Same thing with the Hebert Minor. If it shows up Hebert Minor Cree, we just leave it there. We let them do that. But when it comes to, and the same thing with the color, when it comes to these things and you get into the heritage, there's so many more phases of it, it's incredible. And by the way, color is everything now in hackle. It's really become the oddballs are what everybody's looking for. And Cree is a real unique color. And unique meaning they may, I think, in their biggest year turn 250, 300 Crees. You get into the Koki Bundu, stuff like this. This hackle here, I don't know, we've seen 3 of them in 2 years. So you want to talk rare? That's rare. And so everything has gone into this people wanting the very unique colors. And so when it came to the Cree, which is the thing that really, the Greenwells and the Koki Bundus are even more rare. We don't see them very often, and they're not as sought after as the Crees. And so we'll go into those things later in life, but there's just so few of them, they just don't exist. And so I want to go through, like I said before, there's no standard to this, right? There's just Cree, and then they can be any 5, 6 different colors. And so when we started going really heavy into the heritage hackle, we decided that we needed to have classifications. So to at least get a rough idea what you were getting. We did the same thing with all of the heritage, from the grizzlies to the duns, and we did all the phases. We ended up with like over 30 colors. And so what I want to go through here today is just to help you understand when you look at this, that we'll have 6 colors of Cree when you go to look for these online. Every one of them's a little bit different. And just so you understand because like I said, there is no standard for this. Nobody's ever said, this is Cree, this is not Cree. It's just like, it's all over the board. No matter what, it's everybody's interpretation. For me, when I'm grading these things, when I'm looking at Cree hackle, just like there is on this, you can see on this jungle cock, there's a predominant black bar in there. The face is very dark, right? When you look at a jungle cock, you can see light, dark, then that beautiful shade of yellowy orange in there, and that dominant bar of black is what separates all of these the way we're doing it. And I'm going to show you exactly how I do it. So when you take I'm going to start with the actual Cree. For me, if it's going to be a real Cree, right? It's just going to say Cree. When you look at this, you're going to see a dominant black bar, just like you do when you see the jungle cock. And I'll turn this so you can see it on this camera a little better. And I'm going to lay this right in here. I'm going to lay this jungle cock in here so you can see it, how it kind of, is that right there, Jeremy? Yep. So you can see here, you can see light, dark, just like that. Same thing when you look at these things. When you look at a real Cree, I'll pull that out of there. When you look at a real Cree, one thing you'll notice, you're always going to see a handful of brown or furnace feathers mixed in there. It's just part of the deal. All right? And you're going to see a dominant black bar followed by light, and then that kind of phase that goes from yellowy orange, right? And if you've got two of them, I mean, these are both Crees, they're going to be different colors. They're just two different birds. You don't get to have one bird. You're never going to see two of these the same ever, right? But if it's going to get labeled Cree in this store, and you'll see every one of them will have up here, will have the number, up here. But every one of these is going to be, it's going to have a selected value to it that tells me, because we have to say, okay, these are Cree. For me, it's going to have a really dark, dominant black bar. It's going to be followed by that yellowy, kind of tanny yellow that'll turn a little bit orange and go right back to the black bar. It will always have that. That is Cree. All right? So from Cree, we go into hints of Cree. Hint of Cree, and I'll start with the light one and go to the dark one. Hint of Cree is going to be kind of a pale looking, kind of grizzly looking. And then it's going to have, what you're going to see, instead of the bar's still there, but it's not the dominant. The black isn't the dominant anymore. The light color is, and then it goes into that, that beautiful shade of Cree, that browny, red, orange, all those mixes. And then it'll go into the bar again. But what you're going to see, it's the opposite. It's still got those hints of Cree in it, and there's going to be that occasional furnace or darker feather, but it's going to be the dominant. It's now going to be the lighter color. So that's a hint of Cree. Then you're going to go into the dark one, the dark hint. So we've got, and these are really rare. I mean, to me, this light hint of Cree is probably that's one of the sexiest necks ever that comes across here. And they're so rare. I mean, we get maybe, if we get 500 heritage capes, and we get maybe 100 in this phase, we might get 2 a year. It's just rare as can be. Then you go into the hint of Cree dark phase, right? So now it's again, the dominant bar is there, the light bar is above it, but you've got a real, it's just the opposite. The dark bar is dominant, but it's not enough dominant. And then you got you can see it's kind of just light ends of that beautiful shade of, orangish yellow, that what signifies Cree. It's just a light phase above it. It's just not dominant enough to be truly Cree. It's just a hint of Cree. All right, so that's the light and the dark hints. Then we go into and this is where it gets confusing for a lot of people. When I go online, this is when I start seeing things that get a little bit strange to me, because there's not a shortage of dark barred ginger. And what you're going to see in a lot of these as we go forward is we leave them in the Cree zone, but now we're going to go into the black barred ginger, dark ginger, all right? Black barred, not brown bar, because dark barred ginger means the ginger bar, the dark bar is brown. When you go into this, when you look at this phase of the hackle, you're going to see it's and I've seen hundreds of these on eBay being sold as Cree. And they're truly gingers. They're dark barred gingers, but they'll have a dark bar in them. And we leave it in Cree as long as that bar, when you look from right in here where the sweet spot starts, if that's a black barred, we call it black barred ginger. All right? It's so close to Cree. A lot of people prefer this over Cree, frankly. But when you look at it, you're going to see that when the dominant bar in there is black, we call it black barred ginger. We leave it in the Cree world because it's not truly dark barred ginger, which would be brown. And you can see it, and you put it up next to a Cree, it's really, and again, the thing that makes Cree is the dark bar, that dominant black bar. When you look at that, it's really hard to tell them apart. It's almost identical, and this is Cree because of with the shades, and then this is dark barred ginger, but it's black, so it's a black barred ginger. And so it's a designation. This is really hard to come by too. So now the next two things in the Cree are the dun Crees. So we go into the dun Cree, and they're the same thing except for the color phase. And so dun Cree, which if you go back, if you can find an old Mets ad, and you see Cree, the word Cree in there, when it first started showing up, you'll see it's more of a dun Cree than it is an actual Cree like we see today with the dark dominant black bar. So when you look at this neck, what you're going to see is that the bar is no longer black. It's dun. It's a deep dun bar, right? This is, when it comes to actual showing up on a hackle on a mayfly, when you want to see something that really truly signifies mayfly to look like one, the legs, this is where you should be running. All right, so what you'll see in here is the dominant bar is now a very dark dun. It's not black, it's not even brown, it's dun. And so we start getting this face, and so this is dun Cree. Again, same little telltale. Got a few furnace in there, or brown hackles, and you can see them coming through here. Dun, light, dun. And it's just got that ever so faint hint of that yellow-orange that tells you that's that Cree color, just like it is when you look in here, when you see that jungle cock, it's that little, that top right there, that little bit of yellow-orange. When you see it in here, it's next to the dun. That signifies that it's a dun Cree, okay? And the last one you're going to see in our grading is when you see the red phase dun. It's still dun Cree. It's still dun in that the barring, the dominant color is a dark dun, and then you're going to see the color changes, but it has this overall hint of ginger in it, or red. And so we just call this red phase dun Cree, and it's just, you can see it's the same thing. Again, the telltales, you got the brown in there, and or furnace, they get blended in. But you'll see now that it's got a little bit more of that red phase. I mean, this is a really, these are incredible hackles here, but you can see how fine they are. But you can see, I'm just trying to get that one right there. This hackle, is that right there, Jeremy?
Yep.
You can see there that it's done underneath my bodkin, and then it's light and that beautiful phase of red-orange. And this is really a cool neck. I mean, when you want to see hackle, that when you wrap it and you see that like elbow and wrist joint, you know, when you see that in there, this is what you're really going to want to be. You'll really love this stuff. And it's a little bit more common, because it's just on that phase where it's getting in, it's just a little, a little bit more dunish. It's not as rare as finding that black bar that's like really pronounced. And so there's a few more of these, still really hard to come by. I mean, when you look at this stuff, when I get 100 hackles and 100 capes, if I get 100 of them in, all in phases of Cree, I'm going to get 4 or 5 really good Crees if I'm lucky out of 100. And then I'll have these shades that just are so easily misconstrued as Cree, and that's why we've decided to make a standard on it. And it's going to be the bar for the shop forever. It's going to be how we're going to do it. It'll be always these same 6. These the hints of Cree are really hard to come by, even in most cases harder than the actual Cree. And so we're just they're priced accordingly. Like I said, everything is priced now for color. When you talk about Koki Bundu, Greenwells, for lately Furnace, any of the Crees, they are priced by color. You'll very seldom, because the quality of the necks have become so standardized and so good, there's not much difference in them anyway as far as quality. And what you're looking for is the colors, and so everything's priced accordingly to the availability. And the rarity of actual Cree is why you're going to pay more for it. Likewise with your Kokis and all that stuff. It's just how many are out there, and that's what you're paying for. But when it comes to Cree, I hope this helps you when you start looking at them, looking online at these things. Ours are all numbered. When you look online, you're going to see a lot of stuff once you understand that the dominant bar is black on your actual Cree. It'll help you sort between the colors, so you don't get taken for something that's not really a Cree. Hope that helps you out. It's a lot of stuff.